sight. Who's there at the window? Just my spirit looking back at you again. Frozen in time, sun killing the first snow. As it melts into myself, I'm letting go. Who's gonna rescue me after all these crazy things I've said and done? Who's gonna rescue me? I believe that you might be the only one. Who's gonna rescue me? Who's gonna rescue me? Gravity came so fast, could focus on every crime that pulled me down to where I am. Must be something I can do to save myself. After all, I'm just another cry for help. Who's gonna rescue me after all these crazy things I've said and done? Who's gonna rescue me? I believe that you might be the only one. Who's gonna rescue me after all these crazy things I've said and done? Who's gonna rescue me? I believe that you might be the only one. Who's gonna rescue me after all these crazy things I've said and done? Who's gonna rescue me? I believe that you might be the only one.
Step out and look around. Beauty instilled in every little piece. Inside you see it. Don't let them tell you any differently. See the light, it all begins. Feeling the fire burning within. Let's stop the world from caving in. Tonight I hear the sounds of freedom. I hear the sound of freedom. See the light, it all begins. Feeling the fire burning within. The sound of words I'm caving in. Tonight I hear the sound of freedom.
Cold light falling on the ground. Long day, but we won't back down. One thing playing on our minds. Long wait, but we won't give up now. You crave the love I gave, and we'll do it again. A cold night getting warmer now. The ground shakes as our love gets loud. We are the champions of the night. We are the champions of the night. Yeah. We are the fighting tide, the ones that burn so bright. We are the champions of the night. Can't tell if we're dreaming now. We watch as the fire falls down. One thing playing on our minds. Time stops and we don't make a sound. You crave the love I gave, and we'll do it again. A cold night getting warmer now. The ground shakes as our love gets loud. I'm ready to love. We're the close your eyes, seek paradise, won't change your mind.
Hello and welcome everybody back to another installment of the Rogue Company update show for the Switchblade update. My name is Pretty here. I will be your host today. As always, I am joined by lead designer of Rogue Company, Scott Gandhi. We're ready to rock and roll. This is a long one today, guys, so we're going to waste no time in getting straight into it. First thing we're going to be talking about is game modes.
All right, so in this update, King of the Hill is going to be moved over to our, our standard 4v4 maps, but it is going to be 6v6 now. And there's going to be the new core game mode that'll be replacing Extraction. So Extraction is going to temporarily come out of the rotation. It's going to go into the limited time mode cycle. So first thing inside of there, King of the Hill also has buy when dead now. So, in our previous patch, you weren't able to do that in between the different rounds, or you could only purchase in between rounds. Now you can do it when you're dead, and it really changes the dynamic altogether on King of the Hill. In addition to that, when we increased it to 6v6, we still have the version of 4v4 that is inside of customs for all the competitive players, so we don't disrupt anything inside of there. That game mode is a one-to-one with what you will know and you love and you've been playing and practicing. But in the 6v6, right, we kind of leaned into a lot of the feedback that we've seen on Reddit as well as on the surveys, which a lot of, I'd say there was a decent amount of frustration from some players of, why aren't the hills random? And the main reason we didn't want the hills to be random before, well, there's a couple of reasons, but we didn't have strong conveyance to the player as to where the next hill would be or when it would pop. And so we were like, well, we have to lean on making sure that there's a set pattern and that there's strategy mastery inside of there. And so with 6v6, we have made an improvement to where you can see the preview of the next hill, and that allows us to have a fully random hill set. So the first hill is always going to be the exact same. It's always going to be in that first spot, and that's mostly because that's the hill that plays the best and is the most fair off the rip. But from that point, it's all random, baby. So we appreciate all the feedback as well, and it's super exciting. 6v6 King of the Hill is probably the most fun I've had in Rogue Company.
Yeah, very, very fun. So just to summarize, folks, 6v6 King of the Hill, same maps you're used to. You can now buy when dead. The hill moves every 75 seconds. The first hill will always be the same, but after that point, it will be random. So look at your HUD. Make sure you're looking around. There'll be a little UI element indicating where the next hill is going to be. I believe it's about 10 seconds or so before that hill unlocks, so you kind of get a little bit of a head start heading over that way. Another small note is the 6v6 updates will only be pushed to Xbox, PC, and PS4. Switch still has some considerations. We're figuring out how best to implement the increased player count on that particular piece of hardware. So Switch will not be getting the 6v6 modes. That is just PC, Xbox, and PS4. A couple of little things extra that we're doing with more players running around. Scott, we're changing the value of assists from $500 to $250.
Yeah, so one of the things inside of Rogue Company is that our economy, especially in the respawn game modes, was getting really inflated with assists, right? You get the credit on the down, and you also get elimination credit, right? And so assists were kind of inflating everything. And so a lot of our intel characters, such as Seeker and Dallas and Talon, were able to run really out of control inside of there, especially Talon. Talon, you throw the dart out there, anyone who dies inside of that area, you didn't know, you get assist credit for. So you're just making money over money over money. And so we decided to have that, and now we're starting to get a much more realistic, I would say, flow for what the economy should be like inside of our respawn game mode.
Gotcha. And a couple more little notes here for Strikeout. We've added the ability to spawn flip. And this is basically, so you don't kind of get stuck in the same little corner the entire match. And if somebody pushes too far into your spawn, you will spawn elsewhere on the map, giving you kind of a more freed feeling and more options when you come back. Yeah,
so this all can be summarized into one thing. Since Rogue Company has really Strikeout, one of the number one complaint has been spawn camping. How do you fix spawn camping? And we have gone through a couple of different iterations. And at the time, we believed very much that combat fronts, and that's what we call the idea, the design principle behind why one team spawns on one side versus the other. We believe very highly in that. And then as we continued to test more and more respawn game modes, our spawn system got better and better and better. And our logic and our philosophy as to how we treat spawns improved. And so as soon as we did TDM as well as King of the Hill, we go, well, now is the perfect time for us to go ahead and change strikeout and alleviate this pain point, because there's very few things that can frustrate a player. And coming off the respawn and having someone crouched behind a cover with an objection, that's probably the one that I'm
it's
like,
right up
all
there.
right.
We got to fix that.
So,
all right. That's good stuff, man. And like I mentioned earlier, Buy When Dead is being added to King of the Hill. Buy When Dead has always been there for Team Deathmatch, and Buy When Dead will be added to Strikeout. So basically, respawn game modes. We really, really like the Buy When Dead functionality. It seems you guys at home like the Buy When Dead functionality. So we are going to add that in. And I like it. It kind of smooths out my power curve. It's not just these massive spikes at the round ends when I go back to the dropship. It's been a really nice, I think, addition to those respawn modes.
Yeah, I think there's also, we have those, there's not a lot of times where it happens, but there are those times where you're having a good round and your team is down and you have just enough money to get life drain all of a sudden, or to get a second gadget, and that changes that flow forever throughout that match, and then you're able to get a nice comeback story inside of there. So we're super optimistic about it. We can't wait for you guys to give us your feedback on it.
Gotcha. And of course, with a big update like this, we have tons and tons of weapon changes coming for you all. These first two up on the docket. Actually, before we get into this, I want to talk about zip lines, Scott. We can now use abilities and gadgets while riding zip lines. Praise
the animation and tech art team. Company. Also, I think gameplay was included in that, but our gameplay programmers are they're wizards. They're amazing all together, and so they're always just incorporating all of it. But yes, now, this is another one of those community asks, which is like, hey, and I'd get it on Twitter, hey, Gandhi, why can't I use gadgets on ziplines? And before it was like, well, that's a really good question. And there was a decision I made way back early on in development. And so we knew we could deliver it inside of here. And I was like, hey, this is a huge community win if we can do this. And the team rallied behind it, and we brought it to life. And it feels just as good as you would expect.
Yeah,
right? It just feels right.
I mean, you're already taking a big risks usually getting on zip lines, so being able to use some gadgets, throw flashes, do whatever you got to do, get a new angle, it feels like it helps negate some of that or hedge some of that risk that you're taking by taking the zip line. Small note is that things like trip mines, APSs, anvils, barricade, anything that's like a built object that you place in the world, obviously you don't have a valid placement, so those you still can't use on the zip line, but they're wholly not designed to be used on the zip line. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
There's no such thing as planning a zip mine on a trip mine on a zip line.
Oh my God. Zip mine, new gadget revealed here. Leaked. You heard it here first, folks. That's what
you know what you're designing next, Nick.
The zip mine, dude. There it is.
Give me the most specific character in the history of Rogue Company. This character only makes zip lines more dangerous.
The anti-zip line character. That's funny. All right, guys, let's go ahead and let's get into that weapon balance that I was mentioning. So these first two changes I'm actually going to bundle together because they are kind of under the theme of dealing with armored players. The Harm 30K will be seeing an increase in headshot damage from 40 to 42. And the Nightshade will be seeing a body shot damage increase from 17 to 18.
Yeah, and so some of you are like, it seems very small. Why would you do that? And it really comes down to the optimal time to kill. So for the Harm 30K, right, the Harm 30K is our slowest firing assault rifle that's supposed to pack a punch. Unfortunately, the Harm 30K is really kind of almost worst in class when it comes to time to kill versus armor, especially in headshots. And so by moving it from 40 to 42, now you're able to kill people who have armor in 3 shots specifically. Same exact principle is applied to the Nightshade as well. Nightshade's supposed to be the best, have the highest, the fastest time to kill of all the assault rifles because it's a SMG AR hybrid, right? Like that's the identity of that weapon. And so before, we didn't have this issue, but as we introduced more and more characters with armor and things along those lines, the Nightshade kind of fell out of favor. And so by giving that 1 damage, it seems silly, but that 1 damage makes a world of difference.
Sometimes that's all it needs to push it over the threshold. The Riptide will be seeing a fall off range reduction. Moving over to the DMR category, the Mamba, kind of that niche, that bursty sort of DMR, will be seeing a headshot damage increase from 24 to 25 and a body shot damage increase from 15 to 16. The MXR, that's a weapon that's been kind of all over the place. We'll be seeing a fire rate increase And this is something, yeah, it's a really, really popular DMR. You know, when the time to kill changes happened, it was a whole different beast. But since the reversion of those time to kill changes, the big global ones, this weapon has kind of, you know, been a little bit out of favor. So we're going to give it just a little bit of a firebomb. And that's its identity. It's the fast firing DMR as it stands right now.
Yeah, the MXR, you know, this is one of the ones, and so like the dev team, like the design team specifically knows that, you know, like one of my first DMRs that I made, I like have like a very special spot in my heart for it. And so I always want to make it as overpowered as possible.
And you've done a great job of that.
And throughout the year, or throughout the months, you know, it's gone from like, hey, it's really good, to then we hit it. And then I think this was just an oversight as we went back to the other TTK of just, okay, let's make sure that it has the fire rate that it needs to have in order to compete with assault rifles.
Yeah. Okay. So that does it for DMRs. Moving on to pistols, the A3 Salvo. A bit of a pain point. It's never been regarded as a super, super strong pistol. So we're going to be doing a number of things to try and bring this weapon kind of up to speed and get it to its spot where it can feel really viable. It is a bit of a niche gun. Those burst weapons can be kind of tough to use just holistically, but we think these changes will help. The fire rate is going to be increased. We'll be increasing the headshot damage from 23 to 24 and the body shot damage from 19 to 20. So you will be shooting faster and hitting harder across the board. Great stuff there for the salvo. The LW6 revolver will be seeing a fire rate increase as well.
Yeah, and so very soon, just to touch on the A3 Salvo, and then I'll also hit on the Mamba. You know, burst rifles or burst weapons naturally create a little bit of an inconsistent experience for the players, right? And so both of these changes, both on the Mamba as well as the A3 Salvo, really aim to make it a more consistent experience for the player overall. Now, the A3 Salvo, let's be honest with ourselves, right? It's been an underperforming weapon since pretty much the inception of the gun. And so this is our next step of like, okay, let's really try to make sure that this thing feels well and that the players are satisfied with that weapon overall. So we absolutely want all your feedback and we look forward to it.
Alrighty, folks, that does it for the pistol sections. We're going to move over to the shotguns. Every shotgun is being adjusted in some way. Shotguns as a whole are underperforming. City, baby. You got to be careful with shotguns, though.
Dude,
we try to make small incremental changes. We wouldn't be the biggest fans, I don't think, of creating a shotgun meta that we can help. They are viable, I think, in their ranges, but we're just trying to slowly and carefully increase the situations in which shotguns are viable or very, very strong. The first one up is the Arbitrator, seeing a range increase from 6.5 to 8. The SKL6 will see a range increase from 7.5 to 9. And slightly increasing the damage that it does at its fall-off ranges. The S12 Tactical, a small fire rate increase, as well as the damage fall-off range, where it begins to start to fall off from 16 to 17 meters. And in the Striker, we have a fix. While it is a very heavily hip-fired use, that's kind of the primary use case for the Striker. There was a small issue where the weapon was a little bit less accurate than we wanted it to be when aiming, so we have kind of cleaned up that bug.
Yeah, so like each of these shotguns, we can, like the Arbitrator is probably the most, polarizing shotgun experience in Rogue Company. And so before, when it had that one-shot body shot, eventually people started getting around to like, oh my God, this thing is very strong, especially for controller users, right? You're just right on them, blast them right in the chest. And so when we pulled that away, when we started to look at this weapon, it was, well, look, this thing's got 2 shots in the cannon, right? It's got 2 shots in the chamber, and it only one-shots if you hit headshots. And so we didn't want to really have that limited of a range. 6.5 meters in Rogue Company, I mean, you're basically talking about the lunge distance on max sword when it's fully upgraded almost, right? Like that's how it kind of feels perceptionally, right? It's not 1-to-1 with the numbers, but it's how it feels. It's very close. So by just extending that out a little bit, it's going to make people who use the Arbitrator have a much better experience overall. And then, as you remember from our last patch notes, the majority of gunfights that we get into in Rogue Company are between 15 and 25 meters. Shotguns have a very hard time right now.
Yeah, definitely. Got to be careful with the shotguns. It's something we're always keeping an eye on. We want it to be a viable play style for you guys.
Terrifying.
But we don't want it to take over and have a bunch of especially it's a third-person game, too. So, sitting on corners with one-shot shotguns, unless you're hitting the headshots, it's going to be something that we try to stay away from when we can. Because like you said, it's a very polarizing experience. Getting peekabooed and just removed from the video game is not fun to rock with. So that does it for shotguns. We'll move over to SMGs. The 24S will be receiving a big buff to its level 3 upgrade, as well as a small body shot damage boost. So the body shot damage will come up from 15 to 16 per shot, and the level 3 upgrade will now also provide a kick reduction. The LMP-X will be seeing a range increase in between its fall off range. So it will fall off at the same place to start, but where it begins to fall off again, aka its second fall off range, or where it levels off, will be another 2 meters out. So your basically mid-range fighting with your LMP-X will be another 2 meters out from where you're used to.
And to put that one very simply, right, very similar to the Nightshade having the fastest body shot time to kill inside of assault rifles, we want to make sure that the LMP-X is achieving it is really striving to be the best SMG AR hybrid, basically the inverse of that. And so it was just kind of losing a lot of those battles, right? And so we said, hey, let's increase the range a little bit, and then it'll help it out a little bit more.
There you go. And moving right along to our last class of weapon that we will be changing here is the snipers. Snipers are getting a tier 3 headshot damage increase to help counter rogues such as Chalk, who has, his ability can pump him up with a bunch of bonus health. So that's both the LR-15 now at level 3 will increase its headshot damage to 175, and the tier at level 3 will headshot for 200 damage.
That's what it's all about. Look.
Yes.
Sniping, when you get a headshot, it needs to always feel rewarding. Bigger numbers and Chalk popping his ability and being in your face, the chances that you're going to hit that headshot, pretty small.
Yeah.
So when you do hit it, instead of seeing like 5 health, you're just going to see him dead. And that's a win.
So no matter what, level 3 snipers, hit him in the head, they will go down. Also, small bug fix for the tier, an issue where it wouldn't reload automatically, I assume, after shooting. It's only one in the chamber, so we want to make sure that that is always happening immediately after firing that shot. But maybe some more on that later. Let's move on to the rogue changes now. That does it for weapon balance. First up for rogues,
the long
it's
one.
Be Chalk. This is a good one, though. I think you guys are going to like this one. It will be a perk swap happening with Chalk. So in his tier 1 section, he had Cloaked. We will be subbing that out for Berserker, which is the reload while sprinting perk.
This is the one.
It's a good one.
You all asked for this, and it took us some time. And that might be a theme of this. Maybe the patch should have been, you all have asked for this. We finally did it.
The about time update here.
Yeah, the about time update. Berserker. Berserker and Chalk just makes total sense, right? This is a slam dunk for us, and it fits his playstyle, it fits his personality, and it fits exactly what you all want, and we're happy to deliver it.
All right, moving along to Dima. We'll be seeing a perk swap as well, but that's not all. So Dima will be gaining Stalker in place of Nimble Hand, so increased ADS movement speed in place of increased reload speed. He's a guy that has Replenish too, so I think this is a great change for him. He's also underperforming, so he wanted to decrease the fuse time on his his Merv launcher, so you'll have less time to react to that, down from 1.8 second fuse to a 1.5 second. So Dima getting some love.
So here was like one of the hardest parts for me as the lead designer on Rogue Company in this past like month and a half, right? So as we spun up all these community tournaments on the weekend, almost every single rogue was played, right? Every single rogue was played, minus Dima. I was like, man, Big Dima's still not being played. And then, now as we always look through the data, and we're always, making sure that our rogues are, balanced. And so when I went in there, I looked at every single game mode, and just per usual, and it's just the same realization happened. Like, he wasn't being played competitively, and I looked at the win rates, and he was just doing terrible. And I was like, man, it's time, Dima. Your time to shine is now. Stalker on the Mamba as well as the KA-30 is probably like the best feeling combination you can get outside of a sniper. But really, when it comes down to his ability, right, you have so much time to dodge roll away from it. And obviously, we don't want people to just die immediately to abilities. But this one was almost too long. So this is a quality of life, and hopefully Dima's best days are ahead of him.
Alrighty, moving along to Fixer. We kind of, alluded to this a little bit earlier. It's that single shot sniper. That's the tier. That's the primary play style for Fixer. So we wanted to give him something that would help him with that playmaking ability. So we've added Replenish in place of Headstrong. So now when you do hit those 200 damage headshots, you will be instantly refunded that single bullet, and you can continue to go off as long as you're continuing to hit those headshots.
Yeah, so this is another one of those great community suggestions. And what we love about this one is that, when you got a one-shot sniper, it's really about making sure that you're the playmaker. And we lean into those high dopamine moments, and nothing is a better highlight reel than watching a Fixer just go to town with Replenish, headshot after headshot after headshot. I mean, I got dreams of hitting that.
Yeah,
and
it's good for his identity too. He's the guy. He's the single shot. He's the precision sniper. He doesn't need any more than that one shot. So very, very well aligned there. Moving on to Kestrel. I actually like the way you worded this. There's not a major difference between an okay game with a Kestrel and a great game with Kestrel. You're just getting so much money. It just, no matter really how you're performing, you always had enough. And this is almost in line with the assist money reduction from 500 to 250. The bonus cash from getting downs with Kestrel will be reduced from 1,000 to 500.
Thank you for your stamp of approval on my comment.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, so, Kestrel is one of those rogues who, when we look at this, obviously we've hit the Riptide as well, which is her primary weapon. Yeah. And when I looked at this, and we look at the damage, the average damage of the ability, we don't see her ability be overperforming real. It ends up being the store. She's able to just kind of effortlessly go through it regardless of her performance, and this just kind of helps bring her in line with all the other rogues.
Yeah, and it would put you in, especially with these 6v6 modes now, folks. I mean, Kestrel, her ability, I mean, I was having tests where I would be done buying my stuff, and I would have tens of thousands of dollars unable to spend. Because I was already done with my store. So it's about balance. It goes in line with the rebalancing, I think, of a lot of these new modes and buying when dead, all that good stuff. That does it for Kestrel. Moving on to Lancer. Lancer will be seeing a duration increase of quick and quiet from 10 seconds to 14 seconds.
Yep, just a little bit of a buff to allow her to break the timers on the map a little bit better. Specifically in like Demolition and our round-based one life game modes, it's very difficult for her to sneak around and flank, right? Yeah, because you only got 10 seconds and you kind of keep that inside of there. So the
flank that I always think about is like the one on Icarus when everybody's fighting on the alley. Like this 14 seconds is going to be great for you just need that little bit more juice to get around the corner there and really sneak up on people and make the full wrap happen.
And you're 100% right, because if you activate quick and quiet right at that fountain, right around as you get that bend, it's still going to be going under this buff. So
it'll be a good one here. Big win here for Ronin as well. Her passive will now be buffed to make her immune to enemy reveals as well as radar detection. So radar detection, aka things like shooting or Talon's radar dart, that's what she had. What she's gaining now, Scott, if I'm reading this right, is the immunity completely to things like Seeker Arrow and Dallas Snap.
Right. That is 100% correct. This is another one of those ones where it's about time that we did the thing. So Ronin, internally, when we always think about Ronin is just such a strong duelist who can cover and play any way, right? She can be a great offense character. She can be a great defender. She can be a great anything, right? And so when we looked at her passive, we're like, we're not too worried about, or just having like more of a niche passive. But as we get more and more reveals, it became apparent to us that, well, it's time. Let's go ahead and increase this. Let's make her immune to reveals as well as enemy radar detection, and it fits her narrative really well as well. So we're super happy about that. Minus the fact that she got caught and thrown in jail by Mac, but we don't have to worry about that. If she would have had this passive, it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
That's great, and especially cloaked and not providing reveal immunity anymore. There was space. There was space in the ecosystem for something to do that. Moving along to Seeker. One of the more high skill, high precision characters in the game will be seeing a increase in the rate that his arrow recharges. So it's 45-second cooldown. Now it is a 40-second cooldown. The reveal radius is slightly larger from 7.5 to 8 meters, as well as the amount of damage that his bounce passive provides to him increased from 60% extra damage to 70% extra damage.
Yep, Seeker. When we look at the damage and just his performance in general, Seeker has a lot of high skill, and so at the highest levels of Demolition ranked play, see him be used pretty effectively. Everywhere else, very poorly performing, right? And so that's something where we wanted to make sure that we gave him a little bit of bump. And I think this is one part of this ultimately is a decision that I made when he first released. When Seeker first released, we had him on a 30-second cooldown and his ability. And so then when we nerfed it, I was like, okay, look, there's too many reveals are happening and people are saying he's a little overtuned, but just go ahead and make it 45 seconds. And we felt pretty confident in that, but I think we overhit him. And so this is kind of bringing him back in line to where hopefully he's in a much better spot.
Yep. So cooldown's faster, radius is bigger, and if you manage to hit the bounce shots, those will be hitting harder as well. Moving on to Talon, the radar dart will be seeing an increase in size of reveal. So that Talon dart range will, instead of now revealing at 20 meters, it will be 23 meters, covering just a couple more key choke points, all that good stuff. The big one, though, is Trench, Scott. And I know you're excited to talk about this one.
My thumbs don't fit in the frame. I've been trying to do thumbs ups. Need a bigger box.
Let me read through this, and then I'll let you take it away. Barbed wire now deals 5 damage every 0.25 seconds when an enemy is standing in it. So a total of 20 DPS to targets that are moving through barbed wire.
Done it. It's done did it.
Yeah.
So we done did it. Again, patch. We finally did the thing, right? Trench barbed wire. This is something that we have debated internally so many times amongst the design team as well as everybody else. And when you first think of barbed wire in a semi-realistic game, you go, you would probably take damage from that, right? We're like, nah, it needs to slow. And so Trench, outside of his passive, has had a pretty difficult time. In respawn game modes, he is at the very bottom of the list. Beneath Dima, he has a very difficult time performing against literally everybody else. And so we've tried this in the past, and the damage it felt a little too strong. And so this next time when we brought it back out and we started talking about it, it goes, okay, well, how do we make this work? And really the key change there was that when we divided up the barbed wire into having two smaller
charges.
Two smaller charges inside of there, it made it a lot more forgiving. So if you just walk through this barbed wire, you're going to lose about half your health, right? But obviously, if you jump and you catch the tail end, you're only going to lose about 10, 15 health inside of there. And ultimately, it makes Trench feel amazing. The craziest thing is, like, we were playing today, and in PTS, people were like, oh my God, I have to worry about barbed wire all of a sudden.
Yeah, you do.
And I heard that, and I go, man, we probably should have done this earlier.
Yeah. I think the key there is what you said about I usually take about 15 when I run and I jump over, because I just can't ever stomach like blowing my lethal gadget to blow it up. So I always do, and I just take the damage and I try. and you take those fights down some health. And Trench is a guy who could have Headstrong and be at 125. So you're taking a 125 versus 85 HP fight. That gives Trench a significant advantage. If you're not properly counterplaying and destroying the barbed wire, it's going to start to make an impact on your fights as a Trench player. So big stuff for Trench. Lots of big changes for the rogues, for the weapons. It's going to feel like a little bit of a new game when you guys get in there. Yeah, you guys got a lot to learn and a lot to experiment with. We're super excited about it, just as we are about this next event. It's time to get into some of these kind of fun cosmetic stuff. Make yourself look good while you get paid. The Arms Dealer event. This is an event that is going to be completely free to absolutely everybody. Everyone will have access to this. All of these little missions and these shipments are going to be repeatable, and so everybody can rock and roll on this. You're not going to be excluded if you don't have any rogue bucks to spend on it, Scott.
Yeah, so again, when we did our first Arms Dealer event, we listened to the community, and this is our next evolution of the Arms Dealer event. And so like you said, this event is entirely free. The exclusive shipments, they're going to boost your performance and allow you to complete a little bit faster, but they're not mandatory. All of the standard challenges inside of there are repeatable. So you're able to just constantly sit there and make progression on side of there if you can. And then this oil slick, the oil slick weapon wrap, if you could go back for me real quick, Brad. Love it.
I love that.
Super great. There's also that on the weapon wraps, but we'll get into that. So I think this is great. Virtual Vector is great, but look at this oil slick on the secondary, man. This just looks fantastic. The weapon art team just constantly keeps raising the bar. Matt Demeray, who's in charge of all of that, salute, my brother.
He is absolutely killing it there. So everyone has access to this. You will complete missions. The free missions are repeatable. Everyone has access to them. You spend those credits that you get from completing missions on these shipments. If you want, you can unlock the exclusive missions to speed up the progress and the rate at which you acquire these tokens to unlock the shipments. You can see them over there, the exclusive missions. The left-hand side is your standard missions that everybody can rock and roll with. We've got some great stuff available in these later shipments as well. You could see down at the bottom, we've got a Scorch skin, the Thrasher Scorch.
I love it.
Got the nice eyeshadow there as well. Blacked out fishnet vibe. Very good stuff. Very, very kind of different than her 4th of July style stuff that we showed during the summer update. So Scorch really getting a nice kind of round out of skins here. The Dust Devil wingsuit as well. You guys can see at the bottom of your screen the special reserve shipment. This is free. If you get through all 8 shipments, congratulations, you've reached the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You will get all of this for free. Tiger Claw Dima, of course. It looks like 500 rogue bucks as well. And nothing wrong with a little bit of cash. The oil slick for your primaries. That's the big one that you want. I love the black accenting alongside the oil slick stuff. Looks like there's an emote down there at the bottom as well. The laughing stock. Oh, nice. Perfect.
If there's one, I think if there's one thing we're the best at, it's getting borderline toxic emotes for players.
That's what the emote game is all about. Let's not
really
make it let's not beat around the bush. That's what you're using your emotes for. We understand that, and we want to give you guys the ammunition you need to be successful and make your opponents feel some type of way after you've dusted them. And of course, the collector legendary title there is the final piece of that special reserve shipment. Great stuff there in the arms dealer event. We do have plenty more of the a la carte outfits and skins, if you will, and we are looking at one here. It is Night Sky Dahlia. You guys got a little bit of a sneak preview of this when we were rolling through the arms dealer event. So this is very, very cool. If you noticed, materials on her clothes kind of moving around subtly. Very, very cool. I'm a big fan of the galaxy print type of stuff. It's awesome. Dahlia is one of my favorite characters to play, and especially with more trenches running around, I think she's going to be very, very lethal. Mr. Dallas.
God, yeah.
Straight out of the 80s here. Loving this line, this green, this pink, and this blue. Very great stuff there for Mr. Dallas. I'm loving the posing on this one. It's all good stuff here. And of course, you have all the emotes to rock with from that arms dealer. Damn! What is this? Scaducci Anvil?
Yeah, baby.
It is. Looking clean there. The big old white trench coat. My man is, glitz and glam and gilded trimmed coats doesn't really seem like Anvil's thing, but he looks so damn good doing it.
He got a little bit of money, and they say money don't change you, but it clearly does for Anvil, right? He instantly became bougie.
Oh man, that's great stuff there. We got a bunch of new sprays in this one as well. The Happy Pug, there's the Love Ya spray. That's the Happy Pug. We've got the Los Bandidos. That's a hefty price on Chalk's head. But hey, you've got the tier 3 sniper upgrades to take that head for yourself, and of course, the Ronin Guidance spray there, as well. A couple of sweet banners here as well. I gotta commend Brad. That's the Stalking Tiger banner right there. The death, we will have one that we can't show right now, but for the ranked reward, we have one called the Death Punch banner, and I'm gonna leave you with that, the spoil of what that is. You guys can kind of conjecture amongst yourselves what you think that might look like. We got a bunch of emotes, of course. Saw a couple of them up there in the arms dealer event, the Hurricane Hustle. And of course, thank you to Night Sky Dahlia for sporting these ones for us. This is just a happy dance, not really necessarily in that toxic flavor. Here's the Teenage Wedding.
Teenage Wedding, huh?
Yeah, I wonder where that name comes from.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering too. Is like
this looks like it looks. That kind of reminds me of that My Chemical Romance dance from like that Helena music video, like way back. That might be where that's from.
Yeah.
Dating myself a little bit there, but here's the crossed out emote. Very good stuff here. Clean moves from Dahlia. Love the work on her hair. Just kind of noticing down on that Night Sky skin as well. And of course, the love letter. Courtesy of those two smoke canisters. Blow the kiss rock and roll. Great stuff there on the emote. Have a couple of weapon wraps to show off for you. Gotta commend Brad here for just, this is the most efficient
he's got it all.
cameraman work moving through weapon wraps.
We like all
emotes.
of a sudden got really good at this.
He knows what he's doing. Cherry Blossom secondary. Well, we don't have the secondary version of that, but this is kind of what that Cherry Blossom would look like. You guys can use your imaginations and apply that to your favorite secondary. Very animated as the blossoms kind of wisp along the sides of your weapon. We have, that's the Rising Tide, the Frostbite. That is one of the new rare melee wraps here in this patch. Looking really clean there on the katana. Got, of course, a couple more weapon wraps here. The Salty Showers. This one is, you know, of course, to go along with your more toxic emotes. You've got the tears, the salty tears of your enemies to rock with. On your primaries, the Neon Synapse primary wrap here. Very,
that thing looks great.
It's nice work on the animated stuff. Lots and lots and lots of animated wraps for you guys. And that's really what starts to grab your attention, I think, in this patch, is just how many options you have in that category. The Scaducci rocket wingsuit here to pair up with the now joining the club is Scaducci Anvil here. So you got plenty of options if you love that classic black and gold gilded look. The redacted wingsuit here, very, very clean, very subtle for your more minimalist style. We've got something for everyone at this point. We're really getting kind of a very well-rounded collection.
Yeah, you know, I think at this point, I'm just ready for animated banners and avatars too. You know, like let's get on with it.
Yeah.
Get some weapon-specific skins. Let's get some animated banners and wraps. You know, let's get a little crazy. I'm
loving Brad hovering over and tempting us with that. A couple small little notes here. I'm being told that we do have like an email pop-up type of thing that can get you a free weapon wrap, I believe. I actually saw this when I logged in to Dev the other PTS. I logged in the other day and I saw this pop up just to kind of, I think, go to another window, fill out, you know, some information, maybe an email or something like that, and you get a free weapon wrap from that. The daily store rotation as well. So we know if you guys missed something just by, you know, if you didn't have a chance to log in or whatever, and you missed something that you really wanted, we're going to be rotating the store on a daily basis now instead of on a weekly basis.
Yeah, so that's that. So there's two things right there. So
okay.
I'll touch on the email real quick. So if you give us your email, you will get a free primary wrap, right? Done. That's it. Guaranteed. You got it. It's free. All we need is your email. The next piece is that, you know, at this point, as we continue to add more and more skins and emotes and weapon wraps and avatars and banners into the game, you know, we've gotten to the point where we feel pretty confident that we can have a chunk of the store be on a daily rotation. And so every single day you'll be able to log in and see something new and fresh inside of there.
There you go. Perfect. And now for the moment you are all waiting for. You've been very patient. It is time. We've gone through all the weapons, all the skins, all the rogues, all the mode changes. It's time to take a look at the newest member of Rogue Company, introducing Switchblade. Very excited to talk about this one, Scott. And this one's very near and dear to your heart. She looks great. I mean, she looks edgy. She's got the ripped fishnets. She's got a very aloof posing to her. She is a breacher. And the rest, Scott, I'm going to leave to you, my friend.
Oh, where to begin? Where to begin? Okay, so let's kick off at the highest level from a narrative perspective. And just real quick, I know we've talked about narratives in the past and like rogue bios and things along those lines. And for those of you who don't follow me on social media, those are coming right around the corner. You guys are going to have full rogue bios, so you can do that. So now let's jump into it. So season 2 kicked off with Jackal attacking Rogue Company and Ronan getting thrown in jail by Mac, who works for Justicar, right? So Rogue Company is in a weakened state. You know, they've been attacked by Jackal. They just lost Ronan. And so now they're like, well, we need someone to be able to break Ronan out of jail. But they need someone who's not known. Because as, you know, Ronan was taken away, Justicar and Mac said, well, we're going to monitor all the well-known rogues inside of Rogue Company to make sure if anyone's doing anything illegal, they're going to jail too.
Yeah.
They needed someone who was a little bit unknown. And so in comes Switchblade. Switchblade has essentially been on the run her entire life, and she doesn't know why. Now, she's always managed to survive, but she doesn't know why she's always been on the run. And so the director of Rogue Company reached out to her and said, look, I promise you, I'm going to find out, and I will help you find out why you've been chased your entire life. And there will be more of that to come in a future narrative bio release. In exchange for that, you're going to help us break Ronan out of jail. And she signed the deal, and now here she is.
Perfect.
And so that is the narrative piece. Now, what you guys really want to know, I say that because it's just the part that I'm the most excited about, right? Switchblade is our newest breacher to Rogue Company, as Nick just said. And what she excels at is creating space for her team while also penalizing enemies who are fortified behind cover, right? So she has what we call the Chaos Launcher. And if we can go ahead and hop into game and check this out at some point, Brad, that'd be amazing. But before we do that, I guess, no, you were right. You had it right, Brad. I did this wrong. Let's go through the combat loadout real quick. So high level here. The two weapons that Switchblade has access to, she has access to the Mark IV, which is the assault rifle that Saint has as well. Then she has the 24S. This is the first time Lancer's weapon is on another rogue. And one of the questions, Nick, we always asked ourselves was like, I wonder if the 24S is going to be good on literally any other character.
Yeah, it's a fun way to find out. So, both the Mark IV and the 24S new to any. It's just Saint with the Mark IV. It's just it's just Lancer with the 24S.
Yeah, so we get that new one in there. Then when you go down to the perks, she is a little bit more of an aggressive character, and we'll talk about that passive. I know you guys probably already read it on the screen, but we wanted to make sure that she achieved the breacher mentality. And so in order to kind of break through enemy defenses, you kind of need to be able to take an explosive to the chest and kind of live, and you also need the ability to make big plays happen, which is where life drain kind of comes into play. So she can put herself in a little bit more of risky situations while still being able to come out on top.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the
stuff.
passive. So the passive here is fight and flight. And so this kind of ties into her narrative, but from a gameplay perspective, Switchblade is going to gain bonus movement speed every time she uses her ability or gadgets. So when you throw a gadget, you're going to gain a burst of movement speed that allows you to close the gap. And that works beautifully with her ability, and it also works amazingly with flashbacks. Her ability, you guys can read it, but I'd rather show it. That's really where we get the true feel for her overall. And that's an amazing, the animation team, the art team in general, we just keep raising the bar on these character presentations, right?
Yeah.
And so, when we click this, she's got one of the best poses in the lobby.
There it is.
She's just big chilling. And so let's go ahead and select this, and let's see the cinematic intro, please, Brad.
That is the Chaos Launcher there that she is holding. So the newest member of Rogue Company, unknown to Justicar, largely unknown, I think, at large, signs a deal with Rogue Company at the promise of information about her past and about who she is, why she's being hunted, why she is on the run.
All right, let's go ahead and start off with the passive. So as we talked about briefly a little bit before, the passive ability allows Switchblade to close the gap. So as soon as you throw a gadget or use your ability, you're going to gain a big burst of movement speed that lasts 5 seconds. And so as long as you have gadgets, you're always able to do this. And so you throw one, and you'll get the burst, and you'll throw another, you'll get that burst again. And you can see she's really moving. She's not as fast as Lancer, right, obviously, but she's damn close inside of there. And so now the real show here is all about the Chaos Launcher. So this is Roko's version 1 of a rocket launcher inside of our game, Nick. And when she equips this, the Chaos Launcher, right? What you're seeing here is a very specific targeter, and this is how it works. So when the rocket is fired, it will do 75 damage in an area, and then it's going to eject 3 napalm canisters that then fill up that area with essentially a Molotov effect. And so this will go over cover. So Brad, just go ahead and shoot it, just kind of right at this cover. Yeah, that'd be great. So we all have those times where you want to get people out from behind cover, and this is exactly what it's designed to do. So there's someone behind some medium piece of cover inside of the level. You want to shoot the Chaos Launcher at it, and then just go ahead and close the gap and punish them for being inside of there. In addition to that, it does 75 damage, and then the tick damage is really strong as well. So you're going to hit 20 a tick, but it only lasts for 5 seconds. And that's where it kind of ties into the passive ability where, hey, you're gonna, when you go ahead and activate this, you're gonna gain this boost of movement speed, or this burst of movement speed, and you're gonna be able to close the gap. So you fire it, your team rallies behind it, and now you're just moving forward.
There it is. It's a fun little thing to play with when you've got enemies that are fortified behind cover. You know, you can use the napalm pools to take people out, but if that's not the situation that you're in, either you're playing TDM, it's frantic, you can just hit them with the rocket for 75. Chances are, if they get hit with the rocket, they're gonna eat at least a tick or two of the fire, which is enough to kind of clean them up. It's a lot of damage, so 2 ticks of the fire plus the rocket will do you in. Super fun to play with, and it does have that versatility of, do I want to position these puddles here, or do I want to just go for a rocket hit and do that 75 damage? I've had many a times where I thought I was about to win a duel with a Switchblade, and she just rockets both of us and takes us both out, right? So that's an option too if you want to go kind of for the suicide style when you have no other options. There's a lot of ways to play with the Chaos Launcher. Super fun ability here. It looks cool. It sounds cool. I love these fire. I love the napalm VFX on the ground too. Those look sweet.
Yeah. Nick Reed and the VFX team absolutely crushed it. So one of the points that how we ended up with this ability is there's a lot of times, especially in a map like Factory, where everybody knows in Strikeout Factory, right? Yeah, you have those people right at the hop over, and it's very difficult to get a grenade over there, or how you flush someone out from behind that power position is very difficult. And that was kind of one of the driving forces behind making this character is, hey, how do you get people out from these powerful positions, right? And so by having those 3 pulls spread out, you kind of force people off of that pieces of cover. The same thing will work, you know, if you're playing on high cast when someone's on the bridge. Same thing's going to happen inside of there as well. And so what's missing, and we'll have to take a look at this, is that, you know, whenever you use a gadget and whenever you use your ability, you're going to get a duration meter that pops up on your screen, and you gain bonus movement speed inside of there. And we'll just go ahead and get that. We'll check that out and investigate that as to why it's not showing up.
For what it's worth, there is a small, you can kind of see below her bar, her health bar, there's a little buff icon that does indicate where that movement speed is. But like Scott mentioned, there will be a duration meter that pops up, shows how long it's going to last and how long you're rocking and rolling with. But that's Switchblade, guys. That is Switchblade. She has the Chaos Launcher, of course, the Mark IV, the 24S, bounce grenades, flashbangs, and the baseball bat, my personal favorite melee weapon. It's a great kit. Goes together well. Loves the passive to kind of close the gap on your own stuff. A lot of times, you throw these flashes, you throw the Chaos Launcher. You got a long way to kind of go to actually initiate or follow up on your own sort of breaching abilities. Everybody else might be in position, but I love the passive because it allows you to sort of, not only am I starting this fight, but now I have the movement speed to kind of catch up to the rest of my team and be a part of that action that I helped start.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of times where, if you just think about like the base flashbang behavior, right? Throw it, you're playing Skyfall, you throw it across inside of like Egypt, you get a hit marker.
Sure.
You're not going to be able to close that gap inside of the time, but now with Switchblade, you are able to. So there's a lot of diversity, there's a lot of aggression inside of her kit, and oddly enough, we found that in Demolition, a lot of it comes down to good, strong coordination as to when you're rallying behind when she uses that ability. Respawn game modes, obviously, do your thing. Fire and forget, have a good time.
Yeah, the napalm, it ticks hard, it ticks fast. If your teammates are there to follow it up, I mean, those are nearly guaranteed 1 duels at that point if you're placing that thing correctly. So it's definitely a very powerful use, even in King of the Hill. Any type of objective stuff, like we mentioned, it's a versatile ability, lots of different ways to use it. Very, very excited for Switchblade. Excited to learn more, Scott, about her future and the way that narrative is going to play out. We'll see if she gets that information that she's after. That was a lot of stuff, guys. I'm glad you stuck with us through it all. Switchblade joins Rogue Company, plenty of new skins, a completely free arms dealer event, multiple changes to both weapons and rogues, a brand new game, if you will, for you guys to get in, explore, have fun, figure out who's going to be the new powerful Switchblade mains out there. Thank you all so much for joining us. We do have one little quick sneak peek here at the Little Killer Switchblade skin that will be available upon release of this character. So if you really want to main her, you know you got to buy the skin and get in there and make sure you set yourself apart from all of the other imposter wannabe Switchblade mains out there. Guys, thank you all so much for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content coming your way, and I can't wait for you all to get your hands on it. From all of us here at the First Watch team, thank you so much for watching. We love you. See you next time.